Makeup. All right. I'm live. And I'm late. I'm sorry about that. I'm 12 minutes late. We made a little decision to change up the time of the Anyone Can Farm live chat Tuesday night edition. I wasn't with you last week. It was just a command decision that was made at the time for reasons that I am not going to disclose, secretive things. Life is pressing on here. I think I'll start off with the date, because I don't even know what the date is. I've not left the farm today. Today's the 9th, December 2025. I'm Mark, your host, coming to you from Baker's Green Acres in lovely Marion, Michigan. Let me get a little drink of water here. I got a topic for the talk tonight, but before I get into that, I'd like to just go through what has been going on here. And my reason for that is I would like my viewing audience to really understand that this is what we do, is farm, right? So this little show, it gets a few hundred views on YouTube, and I guess you get ad revenue from that, but it doesn't amount to anything really. So that I don't really do that I don't do this to make money. I'm not looking to have a massive following on here. Like the YouTube content creator type thing. We kind of went down that road for a while. I thought it would be a good idea. My son thought it would be a good idea. And we kind of went down that road, and, you got to have the editing and all that stuff. And as we were going down that road, I felt a little uneasy with that because take for instance, political commentators, there's all kinds of them. Like, let's say Bill O'Reilly. All right. I like Bill O'Reilly, Irish guy. He's all right. But like, what is his product? His product is commentating on something that he doesn't do. He's not a political guy, right? So there's a disconnect for me with that. I like to hear what he says once in a while. I haven't listened to him in months, actually. He doesn't come up on my thing anymore, so I don't go looking for him. But I'm just using him as an example. And some of the farm homestead type people that have really big channels, I look at that and I try to figure out, okay, if they got some kind of information that I don't have. In other words, do they know how to do something that I don't know how to do? I want to watch them if I can pick up some information there of how to do it, of something new to do. And usually it's kind of fluff, bells and whistles and cool camera shots and, the usual stuff. And so I'm not real interested in that, but they get a lot of traction. They get a lot of people that listen to them. And that's fine. They can do that. That's great. But that's not what I'm looking for. What I'm looking for is how to do it, right? So I'd like to start off by just giving you a little bit of a taste of what our day was like. Or maybe I'll pick it up Saturday afternoon. Well, Saturday afternoon, I had to feed the cows. I went out there, I dropped the bale, and on my way back to the barn, the tractor quit. Not good, but luckily it was Saturday afternoon. Well, luckily, I guess, I don't know. Luckily, I had dropped the bale. A bale will last me 2 days for my milk cows. And so then I had to figure out what was wrong. I knew I had a fuel problem, and I figured it out, but I needed some parts, and those parts were not available to me Saturday night nor Sunday, right? So I didn't have the tractor for 2 days, which really upsets things here because then you got to readjust and do things differently, and it just really does upset things. Plus thinking, oh, I think I know what's wrong. I think I know what's wrong, but do I really? I won't know until I change out the part and then turn that key and hear it fire up. So there's a little bit of butt puckering, shall we say? Every when you go to sleep, you're thinking, okay, tomorrow I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I run through a mental checklist all the time when it's cold, which it is cold now. We had -6 yesterday morning, -6. And so I run through a mental checklist to make sure, okay, this is on, this is off, this is closed, this is open, and then you come to, but the tractor's not running. So it disrupts things a little bit. So then Sunday, would have been Sunday. Yeah, Sunday, get up, no water. Go to flush the toilet, no water. Well, that's always bad. And then, it could be anything. It could be really bad, or it could be just a little thing, but you don't know. And so you have to get dressed. It disrupts your morning because you'd like to sit and have a cup of coffee and go for a cold plunge. I know I do. But no, I can't. I have to figure out what this is. And so I got to get dressed and go out the door without even a cup of coffee in me, right? Terrible. And luckily, fortunately, it was my fault. It was absolutely my fault. There is a door that I built, and it is on the well house that I built. Dug it out myself, put the well house down in it, insulated it all myself, got it all configured the way I wanted it, and I have a heater down there. I have a little switch that will go on if the temperature gets too low. But my cows had been allowed near that well house, which is it's off the ground only like a foot, and it's all in ground. And they pulled that door open because they do things, whatever they can do. And I knew they piece of insulation that they tore all over the field. Several times this fall, thinking I'm going to have to get that fixed, right? But then the insulation blew away, and I guess I forgot about it. And as soon as I got out there, I saw, the door is open. And about 2 feet under the door, there's a little switch. And it's a switch that has water pressure going to it. And when the water pressure gets low, the switch closes and it turns the pump on, and we have water come to the house. Well, that had just barely frozen because Jill actually got up and made coffee. And I smelled it as soon as I came out. So she had water, but then I didn't at the toilet. So I got that fixed, and it was just it's one of those things that makes you have respect for the wintertime. It is. Because without water, now we have problems. I've harped on that a million times, that water is so important on the farm. And it just reinforces it to me. So anyway, I got through that. Monday came. I had made arrangements to go pick up a bull that I purchased from a friend, Lori Bloink. She's a tribe member, and she had a little 16-month-old bull. We had planned to use our bull, Gus, to inseminate 3 of our cows in December, but he's just not going to make it. He's not big enough. And he's not old enough to be interested. And that's our fault too. We assumed he would. We thought he'd be a little small, but he could get the job done. But no, he's just not ready to do it. So Lori put put this one up on whatever, Facebook or whatever, and I saw it and I talked to her about it, and I said, yeah, he'll work great for us. 16-month-old, he's ready to go. So that was an operation too, because you have to get a lot of moving parts together. You got to get there. We've had a lot of snow lately. They live in snow country about an hour north of us. So you don't know. Plus, I still got a tractor that's sitting, and made it there. Got him loaded up. You don't know if he's going to load. You don't know. People think that he'll just walk in a trailer, but he might not. And once he's in the trailer, he may blow the trailer apart. You just don't know. But he loaded pretty nice, real nice, actually. We got a halter on him. We tied him in, and we made it back. The snow wasn't bad. I was able to get in and back into the position that we needed. That was Monday, and that's when it was -6. Everything started, everything worked as advertised, and we brought him home, let him in with the girls. He immediately went to the ones that are open, started sniffing them and chomp with them, and things worked out really good. So I see some questions there. I'll get to them in a minute. I appreciate the interaction, believe me, and I'll get to that too. So then I had to go up to the John Deere dealership and get the parts I need. I got home, got them on. Let's see, that was Monday, and today's Tuesday, so there was several interruptions, but I didn't get to that until about noon. And then I had another interruption after that went on for a little longer than it needed to. And finally, by about 5, I was cranking it over for the first time. And the system wasn't priming. And there's a little plug on one side of where the filter is. And so I went over and I turned it, and it's loose. How is this thing loose? So I put a wrench on it and I turned it. Snapped right off in my hand. Right. So now it's in a place where I can't even see it. And it's below the level of what it plugs. In other words, I can't see the broken off part. And I just thought, great. And it is Monday night, and the cows are now out of hay. They need another bale. And Tuesday is coming, and we got to milk. If they don't get fed, we're not going to get the correct amount of milk. We're up against the wall again. And so I just instinctively, I put a stubby screwdriver in there and I gave it a turn, and wouldn't you know, it came right out. So now I have a broken off plug. It's aluminum, and it's 6 o'clock last night. And it's like, well, I can go to the John Deere dealership. I'm pretty sure they would have one, but maybe they won't. They'll order it. It'll be in by the end of the week. Not good enough. I got to do something. It's 6 o'clock. What's open? Home Depot's open. So I take this old plug, I run 20 miles into Home Depot. I matched it up with a plug they had on the shelf. It was a different thread. It was a slightly different thread, slightly. But it did thread in, but it was loose. So I wrapped it with Teflon tape, plugged it in, tightened, and it held. I went around, turned the key, boom, she started off. So there's good and there's bad, but it's always intensified by it being 0 degrees. That always intensified things. It's not 0 out now. It's like 25. So it feels like Miami Beach. But so that, and then this morning I got up and the bull. So when we put the bull in, I said to the boys, hey, we're going to have to get this electric fence turned on, because the dairy cows never touch it. They've touched it once, and that's all they need to touch it in their life. So they never touch it again. Plus, there's nothing on the outside but snow. So They don't push the fences this time of year, but not him. Now, he doesn't know, and I didn't really even think to ask, is he electric fence trained? I didn't think. And so I'm up this morning, plenty of time, going out here. I'm going to do my cold plunge. And who do I see across the road on my neighbor's place? Leo, our new bull. So, no coffee, got to get dressed, got to sound the alarm bells. Leo's out. That could be a very bad situation because he doesn't know he lives here yet. And so he might just get spooked by something and take off. And he's big and he can run. And, how do you get him back, right? We have one snowmobile running right now. We have two. Only one of them's running. So I just saw a glitch in the matrix. I'm seeing it again. This thing's glitching. Ooh, and that's glitching too. You guys seeing this? It may not be out of the woods. Oh, it's glitching good. I'm going to turn this off and see if that helps. I'll tell you what. I'll pull this plug out. That's for the heater in the dunk tank. Maybe that was it. All right. So, luckily, though, he followed a bucket in. And we huddled. Me and the boys huddled a little bit. And I said, hey, we got to get this fence going. I got to get some hay up in there so they're happy. My hired man was here, and he was starting to milk. And, it just changed our direction totally. And they had about an hour's worth of work to kind of walk the fence, make sure it's not grounded anyplace else, grounded out any place. There was an insulator that had to be put on, as far as I know. I didn't look at it. And they got it plugged in, and Leo's in place. I started the tractor up. It started fine. Got a bale up in there, dropped it, and it's like, whew, okay. Everybody's happy for now, right? So then I thought I would run the tractor a little bit and just ensure that the problem that I had was fixed. And sure enough, it started to do the same thing again. It started to cut out. And I thought, what could this be? And I got down off of it and I looked at, there's a tiny filter that I changed. So it was nice and clean. And I looked at the fuel, and the fuel was milky. Well, what's that all about? Right. So I did a few things with it, but it was running a little rough. And I made the decision, okay, I'm going to take the tank off. I'm going to dump the fuel and possibly change the filters out again and see if that is what it is. So I got some old milk bottles and I drained the fuel into it. And sure enough, diesel fuel should be clear like that, but red. And it was kind of milky. So what that means is, again, my fault. There was water in the tank, which is my fault because I haven't drained that tank in 2 years, I figure now. And so I put in some gas line dryer, and what that does is helps the water kind of mix with the fuel so you can burn it through, but there was too much water, and so the fuel was just contaminated. So that's what it was. So I took the tank off, and I got to take all this stuff apart. But in the meantime, the boys come out. They got homeschooled tomorrow. They got their class tomorrow. So they usually do their work Tuesday, first thing. But they come out and they're like, yeah, no, we're done. We're done. We're gonna kill pigs. And I said, okay. I think I can probably get this tractor over there to get a pig out of there. So we got everything together. Nobody even said anything. There was nobody. Everybody knew what to do. I usually drive the tractor over. I usually do the shoot. Jim jumps in. Jim knife Frank's in there putting the gambrel on. I lower the bucket in, we put the chain on, pick them out, get them over to the area. They've got the water hooked up already. They've got the burner in place. They've got everything moved out of the way. Like, I didn't have to say anything. And then in between pig 1 and pig 2, I was able to disassemble the tractor, drain all the fuel out of it, and get it back, flush the tank, get it back on, get it another 5 gallons put in it, and get it reprimed. Diesels, you know, when they think they're empty, they lose the prime in the fuel system. That happened, so I had to reprime that, and got it started, and voila, it was working. It was working, and it was working good. It didn't falter at all, and I was just, again, another bucket of warm water dumps over me. Okay, we made it through that, you know. I mean, because it could be something, could be an injector pump, you know, and then, okay, I got to get an injector pump. It's a lot of money. That's one thing. What if you don't have the money? What do you do? What do you do if it takes a week to come in, let's say? You know, then you're without a tractor for a week, and now you've got problems. We've got problems, right? So that was fixed. And about 3 o'clock, it's like Jill calls and says, "Hey, I know it's late, but I got food on the table if you want it." So, okay, I come up, stinking like diesel fuel. It's all over my coveralls and stuff. And it sounds like I'm whining, doesn't it? It sounds like I'm whining, but I'll get to the point. Eat. No, before I came in, Jim's like, "Okay, we're ready for the other pigs." So we went out and got that one. Expert, flawless, got it back over, left it hanging on the bucket, and he starts burning that while Frank is doing the finishing touches on the first one. And we come up and eat. I felt as though I wanted to put some treatment in the diesel fuel to, you know, just stack the deck a little bit. There's the stuff you can get, and I didn't have any, so I ran over to Ebel's. I got a couple cans of starting fluid and a can of Seafoam just to be on the safe side. And got back, ate, and then, you know, I'm in the house, and it feels like, oh boy, I wish it was time to go to bed, right? But anyway, I got back out, and I wanted to run the tractor and, you know, do a few things just to ensure that I'm where I need to be with that. So I have a back blade on it, and so I just moved snow. I just plowed snow and moved stuff around. Got the driveways cleared. That has to happen because my customers have to make it up the driveway. Got that done, and about that time, it was time to come in. So here I am. But what we got done today was quite a bit. We got 2 pigs killed, burned and scraped, split, and on the tables in the shop cooling until they'll sit there and cool until Friday, right? We could do it tomorrow, but we're not going to be available. The boys are going to be at home school, and I've got something else that I have to do that has it's kind of a priority job. We got the milking done. That went off without a hitch. Our customers all made it in the driveway, got their milk. So, like, the mission was completed in the face of a million things that can go wrong. And you just have to be so vigilant in the wintertime, because there's a boogeyman out there, and he's just waiting to break your stuff and slow you down and all that stuff. And it's the cold, and it's the snow. And today we got sleet too. So our roads are pretty icy. So the reason I say this, and I like to start this off by saying this is what we did today. Tomorrow we'll have a day like that too. It may not be the same processes, but it's all working in the direction of keeping this place running and generating beef, pork, chicken, milk going out the door, and the dollars coming the other way so we can keep going, right? It is not easy. It is not easy. And I'm not complaining. I'm just saying it is not easy. And this is the anyone experience, right? Anyone can farm. Anyone can farm is what I say. You can, but I define farming as from the early stages of having a bucket with soil in it and a tomato plant on your front porch to the full-blown thing that we're doing, butcher shop, milk operation, grazing operation, beef operation, and it's just the four of us plus my hired man. That's it. And my hired man only comes in like 10 hours a week. That's all I can get him because he's got a job too. So when I say that anyone can farm, you can, but it's a building process. It is to make that clear. You start with 1 bucket of tomatoes and you go to 2, and then I think I'll dig up some of my lawn and do a garden. And then I think I'll get 4 chickens. Okay. That's where it starts. Right. And if you keep going, you keep, fortifying your position, you keep building on what you're doing. Before you know it, you're here. You're here. But it is not easy. It is not easy. And so I like to make sure that you understand that I'm not a content creator. I'm not a YouTube guy. I don't make any money off of it, or it's negligible. I farm for a living. I really do this. And we are having the best level of success right now that we ever have. But it's 20 years in the making. And in that 20 years in the making, I have to be perfectly honest with you. Yeah. Where do I get that? I need to be perfectly honest. I don't know where that comes from. You hear people say it, so it gets into your vernacular. I want to be completely transparent on this. When I started, I wanted a lifestyle coming out of the military, and I thought this was it. But I didn't have a step-by-step way to get there. And I thought, I'm moving into a farming community. There's plenty of people that know stuff, but that's not the case, right? We have very specialized agricultural operations all around us, and they all focus on milking black and white cows and then putting that milk on a truck and sending it off to who knows where. So that's what they know. And that is not what I do. That's not at all what I do. I mean, I do have 2 black and white cows, but I'm not milking 80 or 100 of them twice a day and, running that whole USDA, operating loans, all that. I don't do any of that. None of that. We're operating off of the dollars that we turn in this business. So when you come here, everything that you see built by us, financed by us, and operated by us, right? No one else finances this. Like, I don't get an operating loan from the USDA to build buildings and manure pits and buy expensive tractors and things like that. I don't get any of that. I don't get any subsidies or anything like that. It all has to come from gallon of milk goes out, $10 comes in. Okay, what do we need to use this for? And I'm saying all this because some things have happened recently that caused me to feel. Now, here's where the violin music should come in, okay? Caused me to feel like, I don't think anybody really cares about this. Not really. I think what people really care about is, the homesteading channels where, it's beautiful women with flowing dresses, and they're making cheese and things like that. I think, and it's, the bells and whistles and the cool stuff that you see, like anything that you would see on TikTok or anything like that. And I started to feel like I don't think people really care about the nuts and bolts of doing an operation like this. I was having feelings like that because, not many people tune in, and only about 150 people ever listen to the entire podcast or whatever it is when it goes on YouTube, which, you can't sneeze at that. And I'm not here for the numbers, but I am also thinking, well, I spend a good share of my time on this broadcast, hour and a half. Does anybody really care? Or is it the people tune in because you like the way I comb my mustache? I don't know. I was starting to feel like I don't think anybody really cares about this. And there was a couple things that happened that I realized I don't think people really value let's see, how do I put this? And I don't want to sound like a little whiner. I don't think people really value access to me. And maybe that is because I just give it. I just give it away. I don't put this behind a paywall and say, no, if you want to hear what I have to say, I'm the real thing. I really do this. You gotta pay for my time. Pay for my time. So let's say 150 people listen to this. Well, there you go. There's $2. Thanks. $2. Yeah, $2. Does the Dia have a little dough? Yeah, $2. But there's sort of a thing that I've noticed. If you give something away, nobody wants it, right? So I started thinking, well, I think this is pretty good information. I would like to see farms like mine across the fruited plain. I really would, because I'd like other people to experience the joy that I experience. Like I may be explaining to you the hardships of it's cold in the winter and my bull got out, but as soon as he gets back in and the fence is up, there's joy. So it's perspective. It's like, well, this sucks, but now it's okay. So you feel pretty good about it. Like, I'm going to go to hit the pillow tonight thinking that tractor's running good. I think I'm going to fix the light on it now. I get excited about it again instead of nothing's working right. So I started thinking, well, maybe we should just approach this differently and not give this away. Not give this away. Because that's why on YouTube, when you go to the homesteading channels, it's free, but it really isn't, because there's advertisers in there and you got to sit through the advertisements unless you're like me and I pay a little extra money so I don't have to listen to that drivel. And that kind of is where I lead into tonight's topic. Yeah. Was I thinking about ditching the show? I was. Because I was thinking, I don't think anybody really cares. And I don't think it's making a difference. So maybe I should use this time, an hour of my day, or an hour and a half of my day. We'll call it 2 hours because I got to think of it during the day. maybe I should use it for something else, because I don't think it's appreciated very much. That's appreciated. I don't know if that's the word. I just didn't like, maybe I'm casting my pearls before. Oh, I shouldn't say that. But I'm wasting my time. I'm wasting my time. But then yesterday, in the midst of my sorrow over the tractor, I have installed the part. It was a filter, actually, a glass filter. I installed it, went to the truck, got a 3/4 inch wrench, go back over to the injectors. I'm about ready to start breaking them loose so I can crank it over. And then there's a guy standing in front of me. And he's like, "Hey, how you doing?" I said, "I'm doing good. How you doing?" And we start to talking a little bit. And he was here to get something. He was here to get bread for his animals. And, I don't really know him very well. We've chatted a little bit, but, and the conversation kind of went to like what he's doing and his thirst for confidence in what he's doing will work. He was thirsting for that. I could tell that that's what he wanted, and he wanted assurance that what he's doing is making sense. And a couple times he said to me, I haven't even looked at my numbers because I'm afraid to. I'm afraid to see how much money I'm losing. So he's got another business that he's running and a couple of rental homes and stuff. But he bought a 80-acre farm, and he wants to farm full time and experience the joy of this lifestyle. But he's not sure if he can do it. And he says to me, there was times when he had a trash removal business. I was in my truck running down the road, not sure of whether that was working or not sure if I could continue to do it because I didn't like it, but it was paying the bills. And then I would tune in and listen to you, and it would make me feel like I can do this. And as soon as he said that, he's a very, very genuine guy, rough around the edges for sure, but seeking. And we got into a conversation about our time and our value and where we should spend our most precious asset, where we should spend that. And I kind of realized after talking to him that this is important. Doing this show is important because I maybe will never see the ripples that it creates in the pond. I will never see that. And that's okay. I don't need to. But I know I'm doing the right thing. I just know it after hearing that comment. And it came at the right time because this is yesterday, Monday, thinking, do I want to do the show tomorrow? And I was really feeling like, I don't want to. I don't want to. That time, I'm going to spend it, reading or emails or something else that I really enjoy doing. But I'm not going to waste my time on this. But when he said that, it was almost like, okay, I hear you. I hear you. All right. I hear you. So I decided that I would do it. And in the course of my day and my course of my week, things come up and I write them down. I say, this would be a good topic because people need to hear this from somebody that's actually in the midst of it, like in the thick of it. I'm in the thick of it. And it's a good thing. It's joyful. I have so many things to be grateful for. My children, my wife. Holy smokes. Boys today, you cannot believe it. You just can't believe. You turn them loose and what they accomplished today is but it didn't happen overnight. It was a series of living this way and getting up and doing it every day, tenacity, always trying to do it better, not being a punk about things, doing what you know you should do. Don't be a wuss. Get out there and make it happen. Oh, it's uncomfortable. Tough. Shut your mouth and get your work done. Don't be a wuss. So years and years of that, and this is who they grow into. And I will never forget the picture that I saw today of those two guys just going to it on these two pigs. It's not easy work. It is not easy work, but I taught them how to do this. And so that's how I know it's not easy work. So anyway, what I wanted to talk about was your most precious commodity. And it kind of works into this because in the conversation I had with this fellow yesterday, he said to me at one point, I guess he follows this pretty closely, and he knows that I do consulting. If you want a one-on-one with me, hey, you can do it. It costs. It's on our website, bakersgreenacres.com. It costs for sure. I'm not going to take an hour out of my day to talk with somebody because I got things to do. We created the Anyone Can Farm Tribe Plus so that we could run a consulting call every other Wednesday. So I'm off tomorrow, but then the next week, and it's a Zoom call, and everybody that pays into this, it's $15 a month. You can come and ask me direct questions face to face on here. All their faces are on there, and we can converse about it. I can go to the blackboard. I can give them references. There's other people on the call that know things too. It's a really good service. I wish I had it when I was up and coming, but I didn't. I had to do the old trial and error, and there was a lot of errors. I wouldn't trade too many of them because of what I learned through that. So he said something like, well, yeah, I owe you about $25 for this conversation, because we had talked for about 15 minutes. And I said, actually, when I'm talking to somebody, I'm talking to somebody that is seeking, wanting to do something with their life, it's a joy. And I'll talk to you because you're saying to me that are helping me too. It's a productive conversation. We're not talking about what was on Oprah, We're not talking about dumb stuff. Now, maybe some people on here think Oprah's really cool. I don't know. Is she still on? I watch reruns. I don't. And I realized that I am spending my wealth on this guy by giving him my time, but he's given me something too. It was two-way. I've had friendships that I realized were completely one way, I would, and then I realized that usually those friendships, the people start to lose interest in you and what you're doing, and that's okay. It's time to call it quits, right? Like, are we just going to get together and gossip, So, I've had several friendships go by the wayside over the years that caused me distress, actually, because usually the people that we're friends with, 99 and 44, 100% of the time, they're into doing what we're doing. So we have common ground. That's how it is. I mean, if you're into golf, your friends probably play golf, right? And when they lose interest, there's a level of respect that's lost, and it's just time to call it quits. And that usually would distress me, but I'm learning that my time and access is valuable. It is valuable. And I will continue to do this because I think I'm doing like a greater good, right? But your most precious asset is your time, because you only have a limited amount of it. So let's say you've got a whole bunch of dollars in the bank, and you know you're going to be executed at noon, and they say, well, do you want to live till 4? And well, yeah, some more hours to live. Well, it's going to cost you $1,000 an hour. Well, the dollars in the bank are going to be useless to you as soon as you're executed, so you'd pay, right? So your time is very, very important. And this gets into the broader conversation about your time on the homestead. That's where I wanted to get there, right? Because I've been seeing this more and more, you know. When you do something like this guy that I was talking to yesterday, Chris, if you hear this, I'm talking about you. He said, well, isn't it that the harder you work on your farm, the more you can make? And I said, well, it's not that simple, because you can work really hard on a treadmill, but you're not getting anywhere. You're just burning energy because you want to have abs or whatever, which, okay, you're into that, cool. But I don't have the energy to burn on running on a treadmill. I don't have it. I have never had it. Even when I was in the service and everybody would be on treadmills, we all running on the treadmill watching CNN up in front of us. I thought, this is stupid. But if you don't do it, I guess you're not doing your PT. So, I just always thought it was stupid. I always thought it was dumb. I mean, at least if you're pedaling a bike or running on the road, you're actually getting someplace, and you get to see things and smell things and hear things and stuff. But on a treadmill watching CNN, come on. That was no good. So I think that the notion that the harder you work on the homestead, the more you will gain, is a good conversation, a really good conversation. And long time ago, I heard, work smarter, not harder. And I remember when I first heard that, I was like, what do you mean? What do you mean? Like, because I was in the Air Force at the time, and it was the Air Force most of the time was run the clock out. That's really what it was. Because unless we were in a war or something like that, and you had to, jam bombs on plane, get fuel on them and turn them around, get them back out, it was mostly just, training, and we're training till 4 o'clock today, and then we're going home. So, and we got good at what we were doing. I mean, I'm not dissing it, because it was a really good experience, but it's nothing like this. Nothing like this. So I can work really hard at raking the leaves on the front lawn, but then as soon as the snow's over it, I'm not going to see them, and I won't feel good about I raked my leaves. So that would be something that I'm not doing, because if the leaves are still there in the spring, next thing you know, I'm going to have to mow that lawn. That's the end of the leaves. So that's working smarter and not harder. Like, you have to prioritize the stuff that's gonna make a gain. Let's see, what's a good example of this? Okay, great example. Well, maybe there's a better example. Okay, this is a good example. One of the facets of our operation is beef. So, I have 10 cows, and they usually have a calf every year. So you have a calf, and if it's a girl calf, you keep her, and maybe you add her to the herd, or you sell her or something like that. If it's a boy, usually you castrate him, and then you feed him, and in a couple of years, you shoot him, and he's part of the beef operation. Well, my beef operation and the milk operation are separate. They're separate on the farm. And there was a time when I did just keep them all together. It made sense. They were all eating the same hay and all drinking the same water, so I'll just keep them together. But I learned over time that you really want the milk cows separate, and you want to baby them, where the beef cows, they're males, they get big, they put on a lot of weight in the summertime, and they don't really need much in the wintertime. Much. They still need water every day, lots of it, 10 gallons. They need about 30 pounds of hay every day, sometimes a little more. Maybe sometimes they need a little bit something else when it's cold for a little extra energy, but they need shelter, right? And until this year, they had no shelter. They had to take to the woods, and it really wasn't good. It wasn't good because there's no place for them to really lay down where they can be off the ground. And I did not like that, but there was not much I could do about it at the time. And prioritizing, I couldn't get to it last year. But this year, I knew I had to get to it. So we built a shelter down over the hill, and it was kind of a long time coming, and a lot of thought went into it. And when we finally accomplished it, I stepped back from it. I did make a video about it, and it got 1,100 views. Just a show and tell video. This is what I did. And I kind of consider those videos as my resume. You can actually look into my life and say, hey, he really does this stuff. Like, I didn't have some crew come in here and built it. It was me and my boys built it, right? Me and my boys. And we built it out of stuff, a lot of it that we scrounged, right? And it's not like a plan that I got out of Popular Mechanics. I just thunk it up. And we built it. And with my experience with cattle, I thought this could work. This could work. A lot of structures that you build for cattle are not going to work because they'll blow it apart. They're strong, they're powerful, and they like to rub on things. And as soon as something starts to give, it'll go. So it has to be very, very strong, especially if we have 20 of them down there. Right now, there's only 10 of them down there, but as the program progresses, more calves, I'm going to have 14 milk cows at some point. I'll plan to be milking in the neighborhood of 10 at a time, and the other ones will be mothers in waiting. But that's a lot of calves, and that's a lot of beef, and there's got to be space, and it's got to be durable, and it's got to be accessible so I can get to it and drop hay in with them. It's got to be someplace where I get water to them. I built it next to one of our ponds, and that's worked out really good. I just love that. I mean, if I had to go down there and fill a tank once a day, 10 cows, 100 gallons, run the pump, all that, those pumps, they don't run forever, and that's going to be expensive to replace that. But if I can just go down there and break a hole in the ice, which I did the other day, and then every day I just have to open it up, there'll be just a little bit of ice on it, maybe an inch. I can get through that easy. And I keep it close to the shore so they don't go out on it. I don't want them going through the ice. And that's always a concern early in the winter. Now there's 4 inches of ice so they won't go through it. They'll be walking on it soon. It's so easy, and it is so economical. It's economical as far as my time. If I had to go down there, and I do have a frost-free hydrant down there. I do have water down there. So I could theoretically put a tank there, a 100-gallon tank, and go down there every day, turn the water on, and wait. And I would say it would take 10 minutes to fill, at least. What would that be, gallons per hour? I don't know, but it would take 10 minutes and I would be standing there cold, standing there twiddling my thumbs. And there's other things too. When you have a tank, tanks, when they freeze, they break. When the tank is empty, the cattle like to throw it around. If it's a small enough tank, as soon as you start putting water in it, they all want to drink right then. So it's just a real hassle, you know. And then, oh well, you could put a 300-gallon tank down there and keep it at least halfway full all the time, and then just put a heater in there. Well, I don't have electricity. Oh, well, all you got to do is just dig a trench down there and lay a cable in the. No, because that you know, if I had to, I would, but if I have a pond there, it's way better. Water is way better for them out of the pond than the clean out of the well, right? Because we want the microbes that are in the pond water to mix with the dry hay that they're eating and create a composting action that their stomachs can. So the pond water is better. It's a good thing. But it was a decision-making process that I had to get to. But anyway, we built this, and I was down there today dropping hay, and I'm studying something else that's going on down there that I hadn't planned on, but it's actually working out pretty good. It's actually working out really good, and I didn't plan this. It just happened. Let me explain this. Okay, so this summer, when we're in the height of chicken butchering season, a lady came here and she dropped off 13 geese. And these were, they're 2 feet high. They were pretty heavy. They were healthy looking geese, healthy looking geese. And then she drove out, but then she stopped over here in the driveway and she was there for a long time. And I was walking over that way. And so I just, hey, everything okay? And she looked kind of distressed. And I said, everything okay? And she said, yeah, I'm looking for a hotel and everything's full. And I said, oh, so you're staying up this way tonight? You know, what am I going to say? And she said, yeah, well, I got to pick up the turkeys tomorrow. I mean, the geese tomorrow. And I live all the way almost to the border of the state south of us. So it's like almost 4 hours. And I said, oh boy, you couldn't find anybody closer to butcher those. And she said, no. And we got to talking a little bit. Turns out she had gotten bit by the homesteading bug. And from the looks of her, it wasn't her first career field, for sure. By the way she was dressed, what she was driving, and everything else, the way she was fixed up. And I said, geese, huh? You got into geese. You thought that was going to be your centerpiece. And she said, well, I started with a few and now I have 30 of them. These things are big and they're noisy and they're messy and they eat a lot of stuff. And I said, 30, wow. I said, but you got customers for them? Is this going to work out for you? And she said, no. I said, do you guys like to eat? And she said, no, my husband doesn't want anything to do with them. He hates them. And I've never had them and I probably won't. Oh, then you're in kind of a mess then, aren't you? She said, yeah. I said, well, maybe we could buy some of them from you and put them in our store. People would probably like them around here. And she said, oh, you want them? I said, yeah. I've been looking for geese for a while. I've been thinking I'd like to have some geese on my pond. And she said, then you just take them. You just take them. And I said, okay, fine. And the next thing I know, she drove out, and I got 13 full-size geese, beautiful geese, beauties. and they were in cages. I took them down to the pond, turned them loose. It was a beautiful thing. The cows were, the steers that are down there weren't too sure about it though. And there was a lot of jumping around and chasing them and all this stuff. And it was, I'm kind of wondering, is this going to settle down? Or, well, it did. By the next day, they weren't even paying any attention to each other. By the end of the week, the geese were in the midst of the steers. So hopefully there's no goose disease that affects steers, hopefully, and steer disease that affects geese, hopefully. At this point, I think I would know it. I think they've been here for 3 months now. And they just stay down there. They can't get through the woven wire fence, so they can't come up here, although they did make it up here a couple of days until I figured out, well, if I bring them some feed down there, they'll stay down there. And they have taken up going through the shelter and finding things. They're always picking at the ground and eating it, whatever it is that they find. And I don't know what they're finding. They're going through the cow's manure, and then other than that, they just eat grass. So they pretty much move to the bale feeder when the cows move away. So usually the way it goes when you're feeding cows in a bale feeder is you feed them in this spot, and then you move it over a couple feet before you drop the next bale, and it leaves some refuse on the ground. Well, then those geese go right to it, and they're eating all that. And their manure looks like a Tootsie Roll. It's about that long, and it really looks like a Tootsie Roll. You know, the big ones, not the little ones. And there's lots of it. So I'm thinking, how is that going to work here? How's that going to work down here? But when I look at the manure, the cattle are trouncing it. They're tromping it right in to their manure. And it's like, whoa. So now I've got a bird. And by the way, I killed 3 of them. And we had one for Thanksgiving. And that is my new favorite poultry. Okay. I don't really like turkey. Truth is, I don't like turkey. I don't. I can stomach the thigh, you know, the dark meat thigh, but the breast I don't like. And you know, they don't really taste like much to me, and they're usually kind of dry, you know. And I don't really like turkey. We grow a lot of turkeys because people like them, or they think they like them. But I think goose is now my number 1 favorite poultry that I've found in the world so far in Michigan, in my little world, my world. It's grass fed, and you know they're not getting any grain. We're not feeding them. I kind of am now. They're getting bread now. What happened was when we built the shelter, we had to reconfigure the fences, and because we were pressed for time, we just put up 3 strands of barbed wire and a strand of electric on top. And I didn't realize it, but they can walk right under it. So they did, and they wound up on the hill. They wound up in the middle of the field, just in a group. And I thought, well, that's okay, so long as they don't make it up to the house. Well, eventually they made it around to the feed shed, and they found the bread pile. So that was their new go-to. But then I took bread down to them, and they find that before they make the long trek up to the house or up to the barnyard, and they don't come. So we've got a good thing going. And I guess from what this lady said, they breed like rabbits. So now I have a reason to expand my pond and make nesting locations for them. And then there'll just be all these little goslings every place. I've opened it up so that the dogs can get in there to keep the predators away. And this is a thing. This is a cool thing when I think about it. I got to write something down. I just thought of something else. Have these ideas all the time. So there you go. But this all happens in time, in my time. So if my time is taken up with poor decisions or poor relationships, things like that, I got to make good decisions, and I got to let poor relationships go. I have to do that because relationships take time. And if it's not a two-way and you're not getting something out of it and you're only just giving, then it's a bad deal. And it drains you of the energy that you have. And I suppose a talk like this could be applied to whether you're in farming or you're in manufacturing or you're in some other business. You know, you have to stay focused on what you're doing and guard your time. Be honest, yesterday when I was just about ready to reprime the system on the tractor, and then I got some guy standing there and he obviously wants to talk to me about something. It's like, I look at him at first like he's going to rob some of my time. But as we, I'll give up a little bit, but as we talk, no, it was very, very much a two-way interaction because I realized that a lot of his intrepidation, I don't want to use the word fear, but intrepidation to delve into this, I can relate to it because for a long time, I wasn't sure, is this going to work? Or are we just spinning our wheels here? Are we just hobby farming? I still get that. I hear people's other farms around here, their kids say, well, you're a hobby farm. I hear them say that, but I don't have $1 million worth of debt. So I guess that makes me a hobby farm, right? It's funny. I don't have a 300 horsepower tractor. So that makes me a hobby farm. I don't have payments on all this equipment that I'm producing a product that the milk co-op tells me what they're going to pay me for it. And then I'm poor most of the year. So I guess that makes me a hobby farmer. Anyway, I believe that the reason, this opens up a whole nother. All right, I'll touch it just a little bit. I don't want to go too far. We have a situation that is emerging in the small farm community over raw milk, and there's legislators that are saying, well, we want to legalize raw milk, and my ears perk up when I hear that. And a legislator can't look at the Constitution and figure out milk is legal because it's not illegal, right? But they say we want to legalize it. So by saying we want to legalize it, they're inferring that it's illegal. So when I hear that, it's just and then a lot of the younger farmers that are milking, they're getting involved because they want to put in their 2 cents and all this stuff. And so this whole conversation starts up. It's just the biggest pile of what. And I, for a while, wanted to get in there and set them straight. But then I thought, you know what? My time's important. So I'm not going to. So why does that happen? Why are these entities using this method to oppress small farms? Why are they doing that? And I think it's because they see what I see potentially, where let's say there's 250 people that hear this broadcast, and 200 of them employ their creativity, their tenacity, all the things that they have as human beings to this lifestyle, this business. 200 separate people, maybe families, maybe teams, they're going to make discoveries that are going to be way outside of red cap, blue cap, pink cap. But what the big agricultural lobbying groups want is they want it standardized. They want it simple, but the people don't like this milk. Tough shit. Oops, I said shit. Sorry. I'm in the barnyard. They don't care what the people want. This is what we want to sell. And so they use their buddies in government and departments to keep it that way, you know. But I think if thousands of people discovered that they can think outside the box that's been created for them, we got problems. And when you bring educated people into this that know the law, well, that brings problems in too for the keepers of industrial ag. And it's really problematic for them. But you know, where I stand on this is I'm no longer going to go head to head with them. It's a waste of time, and time is a precious commodity. Because I realize, and it took me a long time to get here, really, that they are irrelevant. You know, it's the argument that's going on right now over raw milk is irrelevant to what I'm doing. So why should I get involved with that conversation? It's not even a good conversation. You know, the reason it's not a good conversation is because you have about 3 different types of people that are involved in it. You have people who are truly working for the other side. I mean, their letterhead says that they're working for the other side. And then you have the ones that want to be involved and feel important. You know, does running your dairy not make you feel important? Your customers not make you feel important? And then there's the truly ignorant people. They don't have the knowledge base to know what they're even discussing. And so they can be led by the nose very easily. So they're trying to get this discussion going, get some traction with it, and then they'll do what they want to do. They'll say, yeah, it's illegal, but so they'll call you grade C milk, and your inspection is on Thursday, and here's your license, and you know where it goes from there. So the whole thing's ridiculous to even get involved in it. Anyway, that's about all I got to say tonight. I appreciate people coming by. Let me read what we got here. I appreciate a little bit of interaction. I appreciate the $2. I got paid for this hour and a half. I got paid $2. Think I should continue to do it? Hi, I'm new to cows. Have too many Highland Herefords. I'm sorry to hear that. And our girl is also a Beltie. They are 36 in at the back, 36 inches in at the back. We are hoping the girl is pregnant and due in July, but we don't have confirmation. Okay. Okay. And then it says, chat curbs my characters. How do I know we are feeding the right protein? Well, that's actually a consulting question. You know, this is, you would need to be a member of Tribe Plus, and then you could come to the consulting call on Wednesday night and get that answered in full detail. But I don't take time on this show to just focus in on one little thing. But in this case, cows, this is the thing about the internet. You get people involved on the internet in this function, and they like to overcomplicate things. Like you might be, from what you're saying here, you think that because, you've got to have the right protein, because if it's the wrong protein, you're going to have a dead. No, this creation is extremely forgiving. Like you're asking me this question about a cow, but do you know what the protein intake is of your children? Because we've learned over time, feeding a baby, well, a little of this, little of this, little of this. Are their eyes sparkling? Is their hair shiny? Yeah, good enough. They're getting what they need, as long as there's not a problem. So when you look at your cows, if you don't see a problem, you're probably okay. You're not saying that they're not eating. So they're eating hay all day, I'm sure. And yeah, you're not telling me whatever else you're giving them. But if you want to ease yourself, your concern here, get them some alfalfa cubes. It's pretty cheap. And when you go out there in the morning and you want to pet them and stuff, take 4 or 5 of them in your pocket and feed them by hand. And then you can say, well, that's protein for you. Yeah, they'll be okay. It's not that precise. It really is not that precise. The internet and internet people, it's like the person that sits in the front of the room and is always like they know the answer, right? Oh, I shouldn't have done that. That looks a little bit like the Z Kyle. They always want to be the first one to answer. It has to be 23%. It's not that. It really isn't that that complex. And if you're grazing too, if you're doing just even a 6 months worth of grazing, their little body is going to suck up what they need. They're also, this is going to sound a little wild, but you can't prove me wrong. When a cow defecates out on pasture, get this, I hope Ann Putnam's listening. When they defecate out on pasture, and you hear that noise, that plop noise, that manure is coated, tells the ground what this cow needs, and then accommodates. It takes time, but it will accommodate what that cow needs. Does that sound crazy? Have you heard that when you're planting seeds in your garden, put them in your mouth, get them wet, and then you plant them with your spit on them? That plant will accommodate what you need. Now, when I first heard that, I said, well, that's a stretch. I mean, when I first heard that alfalfa roots go down 25 feet in the ground, come on. I couldn't believe that one. When I first heard that, there's mycelium that surrounds the roots of the trees in the front yard, it actually connects to the mycelium in the grasses in the backyard and the trees in the backyard and the root crops in the garden. I thought, well, that's a stretch. That sounds good, but I don't know. But no, that's actually true. And they've proven that. And I read a really detailed study on that, how they prove it. And it's sort of how you prove that your taillights on your car will work. You go back there with a meter and you read the electricity that's coming. That's how they prove that mycelium all connects. Not with a meter. It's a little bit more intense than that, but anyway. Okay, so Barbara York Woodside. You, my dear, need to go to bakersgreenacres.com, find the link, and sign up for the Tribe Plus. $15 a month. You can pay monthly or you can pay for the year. You pay for the year, you get a big break on it. And then we get to talk on Wednesday nights, face to face. It's fun. Actually, we have a pretty good time. I see it Yeah, lights are flickering, lost. Oh, that's what it was when the lights were flickering. Okay. So maybe it was your energy is so intense. We need you in Tribe Plus. We need you there. Likely to create a nuclear explosion. Good evening to you all listening in while I strain and jar lard. Good. Abundant living, your health coach. That's Jill. Jill worked hard today. Okay, and there's my $2. I don't think my bank to Google. I had $2 Google Play gift card. That's all I had to give today until I can buy another Google Play gift card. Glad I could share my $2 with a warrior for truth. Yeah. Mr. Bajer, I am very here. Braveheart McFreedom. Being financially wise makes you a hobby farm. Yeah. We got another rebel rouser on our hands, my brother. Good. That's a stretch. What's the stretch? All right, signing off. Okay, anyone can farm. Time to put the pedal to the metal. We didn't talk about what's going on in the world. I don't even want to really, in all the years that I have been keeping in touch with what's going on in the world, I had a relationship. Like I recently had to cut some relationships loose. I recently have. And I have had a relationship with talk radio. I used to listen to talk radio on my way home from work. And I did listen to Rush Limbaugh when it was on. And, it's coming. They're going to lock Hillary up. There's, the Monica Lewinsky thing. They're going to get him. And on and on and on, all these scandal after scandal. Oh, but did you see what's going on in Minnesota with the Somalians stealing money? Oh, they're going to send them all back and give them a paddling on the way out to do. You know what? Over and over and over, you hear this. And then you don't hear anything. And it is such a waste of time. And time is precious. And even when you get all, hey, you can say to your friends, oh, they're going to get her this time. What do you know? Oh, well, I know because I listen to this guy on the radio. I listen to this guy on YouTube, and he seems to know everything. And the whole thing. I mean, at best, if it comes, it comes. If it doesn't, it doesn't. And it seems like they're doing that with other things too. Like I see these warning, alert, weather, extreme weather. And it seems like it's always coming at me. And you get, oh boy, oh no, we got a storm coming. And nothing ever happens. Like they let school off and everything, and nothing happens. Everybody gets all jacked up for it, and nothing comes of it. It's like, what a bunch of hooey. Like this one homesteading channel I listen to. I like the guy, actually like the guy. The Prepared Homestead. And I will listen to him once in a while when he comes up. Oh, let's see what old Travis has to say. And he'll say something, and it's like, I want to check the date on it. Is this a year ago or is this now? Because at the end of it, I'll tell you what, get prepared. Get your house in order because it's coming. Civil war is coming. Or who's the other guy that's really good? It's always the same, I do like the guy. And I think he lives on a homestead, and you don't see any animals or any tools or anything. It's always just him talking. But he gets a lot of views, and I think that's how he pays his way. I don't know. I don't know. And then this other guy, Canadian prepper, the Canadian prepper, World War III alert, World War III alert. It's coming, you know, and it's been coming now for like how many years? And at the end, it's like, well, you this bug out bag, and I happen to have them in stock. So get your bug out bag now because World War III is coming. And I think it's a cycle, you know. It's just it never ends, and it's a completely different thing than what we are doing. And I know for a time I was wrapped around the axle about being a prepper and being ready for, oh, if the electricity goes out. Well, but I realized I'm a prepper because I was a Boy Scout, and the Boy Scout motto is be prepared, right? So I have a knife in my pocket. I have a Leatherman on me. I keep a lighter, even though I don't smoke. I have a lighter that I can light the trash off or burn a rope on the end, or there's many things that I use this for. Found it in my motorhome. So I am prepared, but I don't think it's for the Russians. I don't think it's for the Venezuelans. I don't know. I think that's just to get people stirred up. But I do believe in being prepared. Why? Because winter's coming. It does every year. Be prepared for spring. Have your lawnmower. Hey, be prepared. Get that lawnmower looked at. Get that lawnmower looked at now, because spring is coming. You don't want to be caught without a lawnmower, do you? You don't want your lawn to get too long. Yeah, it's funny. Yep. Anyway, just plain living. Be prepared. Remember, anyone can farm. See you next time. 7 o'clock now on.